Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
All right, welcome to Tinfoil Hat, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Adjacent Studios. If you go to samtripoli.gold, you can get on the gold precious metals business sent right to your house for as little as $50 a month. Today's episode, we're going to get into the occult, the esoteric, numerology, you name it, we're going to do it. He's got a great book that I did the forward for. It's called 77 Trust Fund Dork Avenue. Very excited to have him on. Please welcome John Lee Chalbeck. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to see you again after such a short time since the Detroit show.
Yeah, you came to the Detroit show. I appreciate it. I played a new club out there. I like Detroit. I like it. You can buy a church. I'm in. Dude, You could buy a church, bro.
It's your dream, right? To run a church.
The Lord went out of business and had to sell. That's so crazy.
That is crazy. You don't hear about that too often. Church.
But if I was a young gay nerd, I'd go buy a house in Detroit and live my best life. It's like, dude, if it's a perfect place to go if you're a young person.
Is there city there though? Like, is there shit to do? Is there still like a
dude? There's a ton to do. It's
stuff?
like an artistic. It's like an artist colony, dude.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's great. I love Detroit, and Detroit's become the new Chicago for me, where it's like everybody from Detroit just says how much they love Detroit. They just like it's the one place. Like, dude, where you from? Detroit. How's it going? It's great, bro. You don't even know. And they start yelling out statistics to you. You're like, okay. Then you get there. It's like, oh, it's Fallout. It's Fallout. There's okay, but you can live in an artist colony. John, for those who aren't familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where our listeners can find you?
Well, hey, my name's John Lee Chalbeck. I'm married with children. I was born in Key West, Florida. I'm a professional prize fighter. My record is 14-1 through boxing, MMA, and bare knuckle. And I just finished a book which Sam wrote the forward for, called 77 Trust Fund Dork Avenue. And I'm 100 pages into a sequel, which has to be done before December 1st because this is the 77th anniversary of Aleister Crowley's death. So, I want to get 2 books in this year, and it just goes to show you that we're not having this podcast on accident.
Yeah, well, it's coming out after 876.5. Now we're in 877, which is great. I'm very excited. Now, where's your journey begin with this numerology, and how did we meet? Did you just start tweeting at me and we started talking?
I was just a big listener. One of the girls that came to the show with me actually turned me on to your show from Joe Rogan, which is what I usually had listened to for many years. And, I started listening to your show, and I just started at the very beginning, and I listened to every episode, and then it just became part of my daily work listening. And, I just reached out to you, and I can't remember what it was on. I've had all my accounts banned or shadow banned or taken away from me at some point. So I can't remember which account it was actually on, but you got back to me and then we corresponded and I ended up coming on your Only Conspiracy show first. And then I came on Tinfoil Hat once before. And then this is my second time.
So what got you into this numerology stuff, this 777 and 77 and all that stuff?
Well, I wouldn't call it really numerology the way most people might understand it. This is just these ancient trust fund dorks' God is they given it the number 77. And the devil is really broken up into two parts. They get you thinking it's this red pitchfork person or this Satan, your adversary, that's kind of, ambiguous. You don't really know. And then you have all these demons, right? But really, the devil, the way they worship it, is a female and a male, and its number is 77 and 42. And they plastered this worship all over everything from movies to books to science articles. And it's all part of their revelation of the method, which is making us complicit, in our own, control, so it's all part of just ancient, like we like to say, ancient trust fund dork fuckery.
Yeah, for sure. Rich kids ruin everything.
Yeah, they're just bored. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just bored, and they just go in there and they just annihilate everything. Unless it's Detroit, then you just can't go get any worse. So you build it up into this utopia that where it's just a fun, weird town, man. But when you get into all this, it's interesting. Do these two parts of the devil have names?
I mean, there's all sorts of rebranding going on, and I made a quite extensive PowerPoint presentation. Right. If you guys want to go over,
yeah, we'd love to see it.
It would help the show go.
Yeah, let's go. For you listening at home, we'll describe what we're watching. Can you let him in, Johnny?
It's already set up.
Okay.
Right now, we don't know what's going on with Xavier Guerrero. He was on the show, and now he was yelling at some fool. Hey, man, don't gangbang with me, dog. And then we didn't hear. So we don't know where he is right now. We're hoping
you see this?
Yeah. So it's the cover of your book, the 77 Trust Fund Dork Avenue.
Right, 77 Trust Fund Dork Avenue. And Johnny, quick, do you see anything on the cover of this book that stands out to you that you might recognize from some famous conspiracies?
Well, it's clear it's meant to be a reference to the Grove, obviously. And then
Saturn.
Is that Sam Tripoli in the top right? What is that? Is that like a?
No, that's Aleister Crowley, you piece of shit.
That's Crowley. Yep. And then Sam Tripoli's forward name is in the left-hand corner.
Oh, I'm sorry, the top left. Yeah, sorry, the top left.
Do you recognize the license plate?
Where it's very small on my screen. I'm sorry.
Or the big
okay, so
oh, that's street sign. Sorry.
Oh, I see. What is that? GG.
GG, exactly. That's JFK's license plate. So that's a 77 right off the bat. So I was just wondering if you recognize that right off the bat. So I want everyone to keep in mind an Ian Fleming quote. That Ian Fleming was a big Aleister Crowley fan, and I believe that he Blofeld character with the bald guy that carries the cat is completely fashioned after this guy. And he's in, if they're not putting his numbers in a movie, then they're using his name. They're using something that he did. They're always shouting this guy out in every movie. I don't think people realize how big of a influence Aleister Crowley had. But think about this quote for a second. Once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, 3 times is enemy action. So this is the guy that wrote James Bond, right? 3 times is enemy action. So he's saying after 3 times, we've got enemy action. So keep that in mind.
Damn, energy action. I like that. Enemy action.
Enemy action. So just to keep in mind, I come from a long line of alpha male hardcore motherfuckers. My grandpa was a captain in the Navy. He was, one of the best stormtrooper pilots that you could ever have. We had astronauts used to come over to the house, the guys I used to worship, which I now know are just, trust fund dork actors. But, so I come from a long line of guys that are always trying to figure shit out. And my dad was a sailor. You asked me when I started doing this conspiracy stuff. Well, I grew up on a sailboat in the Florida Keys, and we started just talking about what possibly could be underneath the boat, right? So, to give you a little background, I believe God wrote this book and I was just the pen. If you want to know my cosmology, it's, fallen angels came down and mated with people, and God flooded them and tried to, wash out the earth of this, but it didn't get everyone. And we're dealing with all of the blowback, right? So, they get us to believe that the devil, the Satan, and the Lucifer, but really in the book of Enoch, the lead fallen angel name is Samyaza, right? You don't really ever hear too much about Samyaza, but the leader of the fallen angels that came down, his name is Samyaza. And I believe that that's the reason why they do all this rebranding all the time. It's part of their revelation of method to
Damn,
keep us.
dude. Simyaza? No, he wasn't Lucifer. He was a different
No,
angel.
Samyaza 100% in so many different, civilizations. A different name for Samyaza is the name, whether it's, Moloch, Baal, Marduk, they're pretty much all just rebranding this Samyaza, right? Samyaza. And they do this because when you watch all these movies where we're trying to figure out the demon and the exorcist, we always need to figure out what the real name is before we can hold any power over these spiritual entities, right? I think that's very important. It's almost in every exorcist movie. You have to say Jesus 1,000 times, and then it'll reveal its name. And only after it reveals its true name can you hold power over it. And I believe that's why these trust fund dorks spend so much time rebranding everything.
Oh,
And
interesting. Interesting. That's really interesting. So if
so
you never
before,
know the real name, you can
yeah,
never really have whole power over it. Wow.
exactly. And I believe that's super important for people to realize. And, so let's talk about revelation of method for just a second to kind of set the stage for, what is really going on here, right? Now, Crowley believed that he was a reincarnation of Elias Levi and Edward Kelley. All right. And he was obsessed with this Enochian magic, right? This Enoch, they talk to angels, the same angels that are from the book of Enoch. They're trying to talk to, we're talking John Dee and Edward Kelley. And Crowley believes he's actually a reincarnation of Edward Kelley. And I always try to get people to realize that these trust fund dorks believe that they're coming back in the same family reincarnated. Like that's their religion. That's why they can have 200-year plans that may not make sense because they may not see it. They may not see it come to fruition, but they 100% believe that they're coming back in their same family, soul family.
Or
whatever.
you can, if you play ball and you do what you need and literally, wow, that's interesting. If it's called play ball, right? That's super
Yeah.
interesting, right? And that if they play ball enough, that when they are reincarnated, they will come back in an elite family.
Well, now we're at the point now where they don't even have to reincarnate. They just a lot of starting with this generation, I think, where they're just like, I'm going to be here forever. I mean, there's people finally not afraid to say that, like they think they're going to be here forever, which is another
I think
level
they're
of
just
disturbing.
tricking us. I think they're just tricking us to do that. Like they don't go by any of the exoteric presentations. They just have a presentation that they give, which is like World Wrestling Federation. Everyone buys it. Meanwhile, they're doing Bohemian Grove stuff and all this occult shit, worshiping fallen angels behind the scenes all day, every day. And this presentation is it's gonna show you how overwhelming this is. I want you let me try to get through this as fast as possible because I want you to realize how saturated our life is with this worship, right?
Okay.
And so they use revelation and method against us, and it's a secret Twilight language used, as admission of guilt. They put out propaganda. Sometimes they're telling the truth. Sometimes, they just want us, looking over here. and keep in mind, so they're always putting these fallen angel names in these movies, in these shows, like all the time. So they're worshiping them by name, they're worshiping them by talismans, by statues, by altars. They have different rebranding. So a Saturn, essentially a Saturn is the same thing, as 77, as a goat. If you see a goat, it's the same thing as a 77, right? It's all the same thing. And so the black cube of Saturn, the goat of Mendes, Moloch, devil, Satan, Lucifer, this most recent reincarnation of this is all because of Aleister Crowley and these trust fund dorks that whose grandfathers were obsessed with this guy. They pretty much been running with this playbook since probably about 1941, starting with the 77th Congress of the United States, when they started building the Pentagon on the 77th coordinates, 77 feet high, on the same day, September 11th, 1941, knowing 60 years later, they're going to complete the ritual by destroying the talisman.
So yeah, and it's on the 77th parallel, right? Isn't that it?
Right. So yep. And the playbook that they're going by is called Liber Oz. It's called Book 77. And it's pretty much says that do what thou wilt is the whole of the law, and they can do whatever they want. They are trying to be gods themselves. There's no God but man, right? And this is the playbook that they're going with, right? It's this playbook, Liber Oz. Book of the Goat is another. So this is why you see this goat branding everywhere so much. She's the goat. He's the goat. My daughter has a sweatshirt.
Snap.
My daughter has a sweatshirt, of Simone Biles, because she does gymnastics. It has the goat on it. It's all about the goat, right? And that's why, Samyaza is the goat of Mendes, is the black cube of Saturn, is the devil, is Satan, is Lucifer. It's all the same thing rebranded. So everyone's always arguing about it, right? But it's just like God. God is God, right? So they know what's going on, but we don't know that this is all the same thing. But they do know, but they're just rebranding everything, rebranding companies, rebranding religions, rebranding histories, rebranding. That's their thing. And so John D. and Edward Kelley, were the guys that started this scrying, right? They were scrying, and it was a highly ritualized process involving prayer, fasting, specific tools, getting visions from Raphael, from Uriel, from all these famous angels we know that we thought maybe might be just in the Bible or just a fairy tale if you were an atheist, right? But these guys are actually talking and writing this down, a complete language and everything like that. And so you have these Enochian grimoires everywhere. I thought this was pretty interesting. I found this Enochian spell book. It says 77 forbidden Enochian invocations. Of course it's 77, right? And so why is it 77 and 42? Well, I believe that it's because John D. and Edward Kelley talks about these 49 boxes, these 7 times 7 boxes of angels, right? And they put everything in these 7 times 7 boxes, right? And this took them 42 months, right? They write this in the Book of Resurrection and the foundation of 42 months. Liber Resurrectus e 42 Mesium Fundamentum, right? 1586. Now, keep in mind, Crowley, he thinks he's Edward Kelley reborn, right? He thinks he's Edward Kelley reborn. He thinks he's Elias Levi reborn. Who's Elias Levi? He's the guy that originally drew the Baphomet the way we see it today, right? So it's all connected to this goat. Everything's connected to John D. scrying and this goat. I just want to throw this in here. Shout out to the infamous wife swap drawn by Paranoid American. Edward Kelley was smart enough to tell John D that the angels told him that he needed to have sex with his wife for research purposes. Right? That's
everything's about banging people's wives.
Dude, no matter how holy or how, what would you say, analytical they are, it's all just, it comes back to that at some point.
It's just really crazy to me.
Yeah,
It's just
hitting
really
holes, man.
crazy to me. It's such a power move. It's, I believe, why cucking adult films are so big right now. It's just all about giving up your power. The elites did it way back in the day. You remember there was like royals that would be like, I have to bed your wife.
Yeah, was it like Prima Nocta or whatever from
everybody just wants to knock the bottom out other people's stuff. And then, thou shalt not covered another man's wife, or thou shalt not lust. All that stuff, that fits right into this.
Yeah, absolutely. All of it. It's everything. It's crazy when you say, is everything a conspiracy? And you say, yes. It's like, but deep down, if you research this stuff deep enough, everything's connected in some occultic way. Like I was watching Minecraft the other day and they're like the Iron Golem. That's just a play on the real Golem, which is the Jewish Frankenstein that the guy brought to life that tore apart the village, but in Minecraft it protects the villagers. I was like, whoa,
that's crazy.
This is wild. The Iron Golem is in Minecraft, and it's just a shout out to Rabbi Judah Low, who created the Jewish Golem of Prague that would protect everyone. And one day he forgot to erase the symbol, and it ended up smashing a bunch of people to smithereens. They tried to say it's a legend, but there's actually real historical documents of this going on. So all I'm saying is,
hold on, you're saying Frankenstein was real
in supposedly in the way of being made by clay and magic.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about one of my favorite sponsors on the show. One of our favorite sponsors, that's Helix Sleep. Listen, guys, you spend more time sleeping than anything else. All right, so you gotta get the right bed. And to go to these stores, these mattress stores, they're just money laundering. Okay. You got to go to helixsleep.com. It is the best. I did it at the beginning, when they first started sponsoring the show, and I've never regretted it. You guys all know what I love. I love the Helix Midnight Lux. Okay. It's soft feel. It gives me back support. If I'm back and stomach sleeper support, enhanced lumbar support. Come on, dude. Nothing's better than this, dude. It's gorgeous. It's blue. It's black. And I sleep like a baby. As long as my dog's giving me space, I love it. Have you guys tried a Helix?
I actually got one right when I got a girlfriend. Still got her.
Yeah, look at that, dude. Do you want to keep your girlfriend? Grab Helix mattresses. What do you think, Johnny?
Oh, were you saying you still had the girlfriend or still had the mattress, XC?
I have one of the two. I won't mention it.
Okay, respect.
You still got the mattress, Sam. Okay. The mattress has
I got the mattress.
I got the
mattress.
You know what? Yeah, it's probably better that way, to be honest with you, Xavier, right? I sleep through. Like I used to toss and turn and wake up all the time. Man, I sleep like a baby right through the night because I got the right support, the right firmness, the right softness, and I love Helix Sleep. I love their mattresses. Johnny, your thoughts?
Big fan. I've had one since the Punch Drunk days. They sent one back then, and it is still absolutely in perfect condition. The one that it replaced was an absolute pile of junk. It only lasted a year because I got a cheap one off of a website I won't name, and so much better, so much more durable, and very comfortable.
So if you want to sleep better at night on the best mattress you could probably sleep on ever, okay, of all time, I'm willing to say it right here on the show.
And hey guys, we're talking about the Helix Sleep Spring Savings Event that's running until April 30th, and it will get you 20% off site-wide.
It's real simple, all right? You just go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil. That's helixsleep.com/tinfoil. All right, and it's real easy. You just go there, and dude, it's such fire. You get 20% off site-wide. You just take a simple survey. They ask you the important questions. You tell them the truth. Don't lie. You're under oath, okay? You're under oath, under the Lord, and you tell them the truth, and they're going to give you hey, this is the mattress for you. this is the one that's going to work. And bang, you get it. And the best part of it, you don't have to go down to those stupid ass mattress stores where they're money laundering. Okay. It gets sent right to your house. Real simple, real easy, real peasy. So we want to thank our good friends at helixsleep.com for sponsoring the show. So one more time, go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil for 20% off site wide. That's helixsleep.com/tinfoil. helixsleep.com/tinfoil. Sleep better, my friends. Sleep better. What is the thing that Juan Tuan called it? Somethibus. What is that?
A homunculus.
Homunculus.
Yeah.
That's
a
what it is.
homunculus, and that's just, it's kind of like a golem, but that comes from more of an alchemical, and it's not made from clay usually it's made from like, they put semen inside of a cow thing, and then they try to make something from it, and then it comes out a little tadpole, like trying to play God. Pinocchio's a homunculus, Frankenstein is a homunculus, but a golem is made out of earth. It's made out of clay. It's a little bit different, right? But it's the same idea, same exact idea. So who was John Dee and Edward Kelley? Well, they're the famous guys that worked for Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, the red-haired Elizabeth, the one that you see in 1,000 movies, right? They make so many movies about this. 1588, the Spanish Armada Elizabeth, right? So that's who we're talking about here. And it all pretty much stems, this most recent incarnation of what I see everywhere is this John Dee, Edward Kelley, Aleister Crowley, fallen angel rebranding of the goat of Mendes, and Ishtar is, Ishtar, Venus, Lilith. This is all the same version of the female devil, right? And then you have the male version, devil, Lucifer, Samyaza, and this and that. So, and keep in mind, it really didn't make the way these elites look at it.
Look at that, dude. For people at home, it's like a Harry Potter, and then some dude who looks like from the past that looks like literally Harry Potter.
This is one of Aleister Crowley's, admirers, and he was a real life wizard. And 100%, I believe Harry Potter is based off this guy. 100%. And like he said, Israel Regardie. And like he says, it really makes little difference in the long run whether the Book of the Law was dictated to Crowley by a preter-human intelligence named Aiwass, or whether it stemmed from the creative depths of Aleister Crowley's mind. The book was written, and he became the mouthpiece for the zeitgeist, accurately expressing the intrinsic nature of our time as no one else has done. And I'm telling you 100%, this playbook is still being hit up. Like they are hitting us up with this every single day. And so we start with the two most mass rituals that have ever happened on American soil: the Oklahoma City bombing and 9/11. Usually I would start with 9/11, but I'm going in reverse today. So I'm going with Oklahoma City bombing. The Alfred P. Murray building opened in 1977. And pay attention to the way that the narrative is told. It's not just random facts. It's location. It's time of arrest. It's how many people died. It's where is it at. It's all of these things. It's telling a story of Samyaza. It's telling the story of the goat of Mendes, right? And they're telling you that this is us. We are all over this.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
Welcome to hell. And they get more brazen and more brazen as we go. So Oklahoma City opened in 1977. Timothy was arrested 77 minutes after the bombing in his 1977 Grand Mercury Marquis, which is yellow. Here's the picture of it in the museum, right? So they're celebrating. It's in museum. So now they get to put 77 again.
You're so right, dude. They're literally celebrating it.
And they do that with documentaries too about something. You'll see that with a lot of documentaries about something like Uvalde 77 minutes, and then they make a documentary called 77 minutes. It's just a 2-for-1, right? It's a twofer. They're doing it all day, every day. Here's the official report. It's 77 pages, right? This is from Oklahoma.gov, right? I go to all real sources. Go and read my book. I'll tell you, I'm telling you straight up, the pictures that I put in there and the drawings I made, every single thing, I made sure that there was a source that the government and the trust fund dorks are telling us that here, this is our number. You can see right here on Google Earth that it's right next to Route 77, right? So 77-page report right next to Route 77, opened in 1977. He escaped in a 77 grand Marquis. The aluminum powder was identified. It says it right here in the justice.gov Oklahoma City case. Aluminum powder was identified. When you research aluminum powder, it says it bulk strengths of 77%. So the addition of aluminum powder increases the energy 77%. Here is sciencedirect.com, right? So whether that's true or not, to me, I don't believe that's true at all, because you see so much of this 77 in these science articles. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And so how many people were identified in this 77-page report by DNA? 77.
Damn.
Right? 77. Dennis Hartley was the attorney. He was disbarred at age 77 for whatever reason, we don't know, but he was disbarred by 77, right? And there's 77 months between Oklahoma City and 9/11.
Oh my.
And that's Grok telling you, that's Grok confirming it. Grok 3, the most smartest AI in the world. That's our little trust fund baby's creation, allegedly. So now we go to 9/11, right? The 77th Congress started building the Pentagon, 77 feet tall with 77 5,500 windows on the 77th meridian west, right?
Parallel?
The longitude, right? Okay. It's the longitude, but they call it meridian west, but it's the longitude. Now, I can believe all that. Everyone, I can believe that construction was done on purpose, right? And I can even believe that they're like, oh, they all just had 77. It didn't have anything to do with the goat of Mendez. Fine. I'll give you that. But don't expect me to believe that the terrorists just happened to pick Flight 77, which was in the air for 77 minutes exactly.
Jeez Louise, man.
Do not expect me to believe that that is now a coincidence beyond lottery, beyond winning the lottery 2 days in a row. It's impossible for all of that construction to go down planned, and then this just show up as a coincidence.
I totally agree.
Along with what was the Boeing E-4 Advanced Airborne Command Post, the mobile Pentagon that day. The call sign is Venus 77 on that day. And Venus is a 7-sided star, right? So, and Venus is also Ishtar, which is 42, right? So, and let me promise you, everyone, for as much as in depth as all of this 77 stuff is, I could give an equally long presentation on 42 worship as well. Okay, so, but we're not here. We're not here for that. We're here for 77. How many firefighters died? 343. That's 7 times 7 times 7. All right. United 175 hit the World Trade Center at the 77th floor. How many total victims? 2977. And Poppy Bush, who is the father of pretty much the priest of that day, who is George G.W., was 77 years old. Now, here's a really important part that people miss a lot. He's reading My Pet Goat, which is the stand-in for Samyaza, for the goat of Mendez, for 77. He's reading My Pet Goat to all of the kids. And then he makes them chant in a weird way: steal, fly, hit, plane. And then the news makes a big deal about him reading for 7 minutes after he finds out, right? So they have to make a big deal about that. It's in all the old stories, right? Now you've got that 7 minutes. I think that goes along with Building 7, and also Building 7 collapsed. Obviously, we know that was bullshit.
Yeah. The saying was steal, kite, hit, plane.
Right. Now,
So
obviously, we know.
kite,
yeah, it's insane. It's fucking
kite,
insane.
hit, steel, plane. It's something like that, dude. It's like,
and obviously, it shows the
kite,
layer
hit,
of these
steel,
rituals.
plane.
It shows the layer of these rituals. Not only are they plastering numbers, building talismans, building statues, doing all this stuff, it's a multi-layered thing of esoteric. And it's really important that people understand those two words, esoteric and exoteric. Esoteric is the hidden stuff that they keep for themselves. That's the real stuff. And the exoteric is the presentation that the herd gets. That's part of the revelation of method. Of course, Poppy Bush picks his aircraft carrier to be aircraft carrier 77, CVN 77. It has to be, right? Now, Waco, look at this real quick. Waco, a prelude to Oklahoma City. The final death toll, 77. And David Koresh in his raid was on a 77-acre complex.
It's
now,
so crazy.
Those are the three biggest terrorist attack, biggest red flag events in all of history.
High impact events, yeah, for sure.
High impact events in all of history on the United States soil that people cried, stared at the TV, believed these narratives. And I just showed you that between just three of them in the story, in the narrative, not randomly, it's location, it's how big is it, it's how many people died. It's all part of the narrative. It's in every single one, right? Now, this is my favorite, right? This is my favorite. Iridium is what proves the dinosaurs existed. What's the atomic number of iridium?
77.
Of course it is, right? Of course it is. They get you believing in dinosaurs, so you're worshiping Samyaza right underneath your fucking nose, right? That's how smart they are. They're clever. They're clever, while they're also dumb and indoctrinated in their own ways. All of them are indoctrinated in their own way. They have to go through weird shit, right? Now, here's some science articles to go along with the dinosaur narrative, right? A climate change one. I thought this was really interesting, Sam. It talks about the richest 1%, 77 million people. All right. And Saturn Awards, right? The Saturn Awards.
What is that?
That's just 77 rebranded, but they're making an award out of it. They're making it the most popular planet. They're making it all these other different things. They're making it, if you look at corporate logos, so many corporate logos are Saturn worship, from AAA to Target to all these things. And that's just a rebranding. I truly believe it's just a rebranding of this goat of Mendez 77. So wherever you see the goat, wherever you see Saturn, wherever you see 77, this is their devil. This is their God, right? I mean, look right here. The United Nations is telling us 77 million children just spent 18 months out of class. I don't buy it for a minute. Not after everything else. I don't buy that. I don't buy any of that. Any of that. I don't buy it. I mean, here's the pay gap between men and women, 77 cents on the dollar.
Damn.
Right? This is the scariest one. Now, this is the one. Now, I got to tell this story real quick. I was in here and I researched Uvalde, and I immediately found that 300 plus cops body slammed parents and held them back for exactly 77 minutes. And I sat back in my chair because I just got done watching this video of all these cops throwing up coming out of the school. And I sat back and I was like, holy fuck. I was like, this is too crazy. Right. And then not only did the cops wait 77 minutes exactly, right, and they made a documentary called 77 Minutes, But the Attorney General released a 77-page report to rub it in all the parents' faces of they just lost their kids. Right? So, in my opinion, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's no... If you ask Grok what the chances of this are happening, it says it's a 1 in 10 quintillion, a number so large.
Quintillion?
Yeah, a double quintillion, 1 in 10 quintillion for just Oklahoma City and 9/11 alone. Not going all through the narrative of over all this stuff. I mean, Johnny, you can go ahead and try to name one famous thing since 1941, and I will tell you where it is. Any of them, any famous thing.
Like, what do you mean by thing? Like event?
Any high impact event. I mean, you can't say movie because I haven't watched them all, but I swear.
Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor, 1177 sailors died on the Arizona, which started the World War II for us, which started with what? Public Law 77, right? That's what started World War II, was Public Law 77. And what ended World War II was when Boxcar dropped the Fat Boy on Nagasaki. What's the number painted on Boxcar? It's 77. So 77 began the war, Public Act 77, and 77 ends the war, right? With Nagasaki getting the second atomic bomb dropped on it, right? And this is all day, every day, right? This is what they're doing. It's not just high impact. Here's an interesting one. We all know the United Nations is the new world order, one world government. Did you know that they had a special group called the Group of 77, which this is their logo, a G77?
Damn, dude.
Now, you'll love this one, Sam, and this one's just for you. I know you're a big Godzilla fan,
Huge.
Right? So we know that in Godzilla, all of the monsters are named after biblical entities, whether it's Methuselah, Noah's dad, whether it's Baphomet, whether it's, Abaddon. And in this case, what is the monster that comes out of the ground next to the Devil's Tower in Godzilla King of the Monsters is Abaddon, which we know is the king of the locusts, which in Revelation comes out of the ground to let the locusts out on the population. And the ancient site is right where CERN is built, right? And even this guy is telling you, we are confident we are making contact with a parallel universe this week. Out of this door might come something. And he says they're opening a dimension right over the location of the bottomless pit where Abaddon, Apollyon, the spirit that rises to inhabit the Antichrist, is believed to be bound. They're telling you this. They tell you this. And then CERN has all these they have these rituals where all these people are wearing these goat masks and they're all dancing in science and coat and science lab coats and shit. And they make you think that they're what are they doing there? The narrative is that they're smashing particles together to create mini black holes so they can figure out the Big Bang. I don't buy any of that for a second, right? It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. So, where there's smoke, there's fire, guys. World War II, Desert Storm. Desert Storm was House Joint Resolution 77.
What?
Operation Iraqi Freedom passed 77-23 in Congress. Vietnam, the only guy that voted against the Gulf of Tonkin was Ernest Gruning, and he was 77 years old. John McCain was rescued by Navy Task Force 77, which is a famous Vietnam task force, right? Now, like I said, they're rebranding. If you read William Ramsey's book, you'll realize that one of Crowley's names was Nemo, right?
What?
Whoa.
One of Crowley's names is Nemo. So it's not finding Nemo, it's finding Crowley, right? Just like in this movie with Brad Pitt and Harrison Ford.
Shit.
This Brad Pitt with Harrison Ford, movie, The Devil's Own, it's Crowley's super beats. So if you don't find a 77, I promise you'll find a goat, or you'll find a Saturn, or you'll find Crowley, or like in the movie Sonic, they do a quote. He says, Shadow will use his chaos energy to usher in a new age for humanity, which is literally almost word for word Aleister Crowley and AWAS and all of that stuff, right?
Holy
the LA fires where you guys are at, right? This is total trust fund dork. Who knows what this weapon is, but I totally believe it's an ancient weapon and they've rebranded it. It's the same thing that caused the mud floods. It's the same thing that caused everything else to melt, right? Whatever weapon this is, we can only speculate, but I believe it's ancient, and they've either rebranded it or remade it or reinvented it or something. But I mean, look, they got to tell you that the Palisades have now burned 770 acres. Biden's going to give you a one-time payment just to make you feel bad. $770.
Guys, just like animal predators aim for the slowest prey, hackers target people with the weakest security. And if you're not using ExpressVPN, guess what? Guess what? That's you. You're the slow animal. You're the one, the easy prey that they pick up. Every time you connect to unencrypted networks in cafes, hotels, airports, etc., your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to hack someone. Just cheap hardware is needed. A smart 12-year-old could do that. Your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling your personal online info to the dark web. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Okay, super secure. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. Okay. But it's easy to use. Fire up your app, click on the button to get protected. Works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more. So you can stay secure on the go. Optional, dedicated IP service engineered with innovative zero knowledge design. Not even ExpressVPN can track an IP address back to the user. Damn. And in the US, comes with Identity Defender, a new suite of tools to get your data removed from data brokers, alert you when your data appears on the dark web, and even insures you against data theft for up to $1 million. That's $1 million. Big bucks, no whammies. Okay, rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. Okay, I love it. It's a really great VPN, and I feel very secure because there's a bunch of cyber wolves out there looking for anything. Johnny, do you ever use these things?
I use a VPN every time I get online. Yeah, because I don't. I'm not just worried about cyber attacks. I'm worried about, the government spying on me. So yeah, I don't
stop spying on us.
I don't want any of that. And also, it just helps. It's just kind of it's a best practice, really, to use a VPN every time.
Xavier, do you use it?
Actually, I had to start learning it because I figured out that using other people's Wi-Fi is very easy for you to get attacked. But if you got a VPN, you can use Wi-Fi's anywhere.
Dude, look at that, dude, dropping science on us. Okay, so here's what you want to do. Secure your online data today by visiting ExpressVPN.com/tinfoil. That's ExpressVPN.com/tinfoil to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months free. ExpressVPN.com/tinfoil. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. Hey guys, real quick, again, want to thank everybody at Tacoma. Thank you guys so much for coming out. It was a great time, a great weekend, one of my favorite clubs. Real quick, I'm going to be in Bellflower. Nope, go up one. I'm going to be in Burbank on the 1st for the Revival, which is a night of politics, spirituality, and comedy. Then I'm going to be in Bellflower. Then I'll be in Cleveland, Ohio. Then I'll be in San Diego. Bang, bang, pow. Let's get back to it.
Now, if you think Elon Musk and Trump are not in on this, well, you're not educated, right? They totally are. They're not helping us. They're totally trust fund dorks. They got 77 all over them. 77 million people just voted for Trump. He just made 777 million in capital for Trump media. He paid 777 million for Trump Tower, its property rights, which has 33 rooms and it's 420 meters tall. So you hit all three of your occultic numbers right there. Here's Elon Musk getting 77% approval from his Tesla people, and he has 77 Cybertruck related job openings. The Doge clock ends with a 777. I mean, you guys aren't paying attention. I mean, look at all the worship they did for Luca when he moved over. You know, they got.
I got a shit from some black comic in LA because I was like, and Luca has the number 77. And he's like,
well, here's the thing.
Reaction video. He's like, shut the fuck up.
Here's the thing,
I
Sam.
thought it was funny, but I'm like, okay, dude.
Sometimes they create it and sometimes they just hijack it, just like our inventions. They'll kill our inventors and they'll take our inventions. Sometimes they may have someone that invents stuff, but usually they just hijack the invention or just get rid of the guy. So, you know, we can't have a water car or something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, here's the Florida building that collapsed. The address was 877. That one was so funny. I was in the car and I was like, Denny, look this up while I was driving because I just saw some like rusty rebar. And I was like, see if you can find a 77 in the building that collapsed. He goes, address, and set his phone down. It was that quick. It was that quick, right? Because it's always part of the narrative. The most recent one that happened, the helicopter crashed into the plane. Happened at coordinates of 77. Anything at Washington, D.C. is coordinates of 77. Keep that in mind. Here's some of my favorite ones in movies. No Country for Old Men. I swear to God, this is the most iconic line in the entire movie now. He goes, does that look like a 77 Ford to you, Wendell? Dexter in the top left-hand corner. They got 77 minutes on his camcorder. The Silo one came from one of my clients. He said he was reading my book and then they were watching Silo and the big reveal was 77 was a special code or some shit. And they both, him and his wife, looked at each other. Were like, what the fuck? And I was like, yep, all day, every day. I'm not surprised. I'm never shocked, right? Here's a new movie coming out called G7. It's a political economic forum of the world's wealthiest liberal democracies. Yeah, of course it's called G7. It's called Rumors, right? Rumors. The G7, the movie is called Rumors. Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim is a GX77 is the model, right? Here's a movie I'm watching. It's some random movie. The guy's just like, this ain't the 77th where we pretty much, and he's talking about his precinct, right? Here's another movie called Prison 77. And there's 25, 30 movies that have a 77 in the title. I'm not going to put them all, right? Here's a couple more famous ones. The Vegas shooter was married in 1977 and graduated in college 1977. Princess Diana's Jewelers, also the Royal Jewelers, is 77 diamonds. Anton LaVey, who wrote the Satanic Bible, he just picked and chose 77 infernal names of all the most precious demons, right? Of course, he picked 77, right? Because he's trying to tap in to whatever these guys are tapping. Here's a couple, documentaries about, here's 77 Minutes, which is about the McDonald's massacre in California, which,
I didn't even hear about that.
It was in 1984, so July 18th, 1984. I was 2 years old, and this took place, and it happened for 77 minutes. Of course, the same director that made 77 Minutes about the McDonald's massacre is the same director that made the 77 Minutes about Uvalde.
Okay, that's weird.
And he's also made tons. He's also made tons of documentaries about all these high impact events, which have some occultic 77s tied into them, right? So the World Jewish Headquarters in New York the address is 77 Eastern Parkway, Brooklyn. And like I always say, these guys pretend to, like you say, Sam, and I've said a million times as well. They pretend to be Jewish. They pretend to be Muslim. They pretend to be Christian. They pretend to be atheists so that they can walk amongst us. Because really, if we knew what they were into, we'd lose our fucking skull and not believe anything that they present. Because look, it's all 77, from the address to the headquarters to Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book, 77 Lessons at 77. You know, Ben Shapiro complaining about 77 billion to Ukraine. Like, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. The London bombings, which is England's, 9/11, happened on 7/7, and they always refer to it as 7/7. My friend was watching a movie called We Bought a Zoo, and they opened the zoo on 7/7, right? Of course they did. And he sends me, he's like, of course they opened it on 7/7. The whole movie, they're like 7/7. They're saying it back to each other. Matt Damon and all of his buddies are saying it back to each other. 7/7. The whole movie, right? The DC sniper was all 7/7 coordinates. The coordinates of Jonestown and Guyana are 7.7, right? So it still hits. Francis Scott Key Bridge, the Baltimore Bridge, which was just last year, opened in 1977. Soon as someone asked me about it, I was like, yeah, it's going to be somewhere. The JFK assassination, obviously his license plate was GG77. And Oswald allegedly shot from a square building that's 7 stories with 7 windows going one way, 7 windows going the other way, right? So the Texas School Book Depository is the building, and it's really close. It's really close to Route 77, right? The Kent State Massacre, which is so old. When were you born, Sam? Probably.
Don't worry about it. No, 72.
72. So you weren't even born yet, right? Now, they always make a big deal about the 29 soldiers that fired into the student crowd of Kent Lake, right? But they sent 77 National Guard, right? And I believe that that's all on purpose because they know that they're going to make a high impact event there, right? So they know they're going to shoot kids. They know it's going to go into the news. It's all coordinated. The worst Norway shooter went on to the island and shot 77 kids, right? In television, right? Television, Late Night with the Devil, which is all Revelation of Method.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Bohemian Grove, it's all about 1977, right? Into the Blue with Paul Walker. The coordinates on the fish finder, where they find the treasure, coordinates of 77 on the fish finder, right? And Eyes Wide Shut. I got this one from, shout out to William Ramsey. They're having a conversation about dinner, and she goes, do you want dinner 7? And he goes, 7. So it's a 7/7 between them immediately, right? And we know that movie is all Revelation of Method, Trust Fund Dork rituals at Trust Fund Dork castles, right? Natural Born Killers at the beginning of the movie, they got 77 Sunset Strip, which is another twofer, right? It's a twofer. You got an old show about 77 getting a shout out on a newer movie. So they're getting a twofer right there. The Shining came out in 1977, and he's obsessed with 42 cars in the parking lot, 42 on the guy's shirt, 42 on the TV. They make a big deal about 42 in that movie, but there's your 77, right? So where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's not it's in the most mundane thing, guys. It's in the most mundane things. I walk in just to get some paint. They got the first thing they have in Sherman-Williams in the front is Super 77. I don't believe that's a coincidence. I really don't. I'm driving by the casino. They're doing a promotion for $77,000. Yeah, sorry, I'm not buying it, right? Greater, a movie on Netflix. It's a great inspirational movie. Everyone's going to watch it, but the kid's number is 77. Of course it is. Here's Creed 2. This guy's talking about how there was 77 heavyweight champions. That's what it says on the TV, right? Here's a saw that I have I'm just working. I look down at the saw. It says K77. I'm like, damn, I can't get away from it. You know what I mean? So it's all day, every day. Conor McGregor, he's a billionaire now. He was just playing a soccer game the other day. What was his soccer number? You already know what it was, right? So it was a 77. I bought a hot tub recently. I didn't know it was a model 77. I had no clue until I'm in it and I'm looking at the fucking thing, right? I'm like, Jesus, right? So I don't think there's some people that think this is a curse. I really don't. I think it's LARPing by trust fund dorks, which are purposely putting this stuff in there and rebranding everything. I mean, here's a drug for HIV, and they say you have to weigh at least 77 pounds to take this drug. This is what flashes across the TV, right?
Damn!
I'm not buying that. It's a coincidence, right? And all these science articles that are always shouting out 77 scientists. I mean, Joe Rogan and Candace Owens are going back and forth about climate change. And Jamie pulls up an article, right? He pulls up an article. And in the article, you got your 77% of scientists don't believe it, and 33. It was like a 77 and 33 right there in the article. Like, Joe Rogan's falling, Jamie's falling for it. Everyone that's believing a lot of these science articles just as like gospel, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not saying science isn't real just because it comes from the word seance. In the Bible, Thessalonians, it gives you the most scientific line. It says, test all things, keep what is good. Test all things, keep what is good. It doesn't get any more scientific method than that, everyone. So don't believe that I'm against science just because I study etymology and I study this trust fund dork fuckery. And Johnny, you may be familiar with this. The Dylan Roof shooting, was that in Charleston?
South Carolina, yeah.
Yeah.
Down there when that happened. Yeah.
They just got to tell you that he made 77 shots.
Keep going. I gotta grab some real. Keep going.
So he takes 77 shots. They got to tell you in every single news story that he took 77 shots, and he was indicted on 7/7, right? And I don't believe that's a coincidence. And so that these guys, I try to stay away from stuff like this, but all of these numerologists will tell you that this is absolutely the same thing, right? And so the equal sign tells us that 7 times 7, like 49, is the same, another 7/7, right? So Sandy Hook, 154 shots. That's 77 plus 77. The Fort Hood shooting, 14 killed. That's 7 plus 7. And then they just got to tell you a really weird stat. They have to tell you that the gunman had 177 shots left on him. I had never seen that in any other news article ever for any shooting. He had 177 shots left on his person, right? I think that's weird. And I think that's on purpose. And lots of times, if they don't...
Ask you, can I stop you for a second? Okay, so you're talking about the reporting there. Now, I spent more time as a reporter than I have as a podcaster now. Is your suggestion that who's responsible for putting that number in like a news article? Would you say, is it the reporter, or is
I don't.
Information?
He's just he's just reporting the information.
So the information they're getting now. Do you think the cops are also just passing that information along, and it's actually, I think, whoever it's playing the event is the one that put these numbers everywhere? At what point is that number interjected?
Yeah, we can only speculate, right? But I definitely think everything is a pyramid, top-down, military type. You only need to know so everyone's just doing their job. And I can tell you, just from running the casino at the Motor City Casino and running the fights, lots of people don't know how much the fighters are making. I know, and my boss would know. But there's a lot of information people don't know. They just go to the fights, right? So, and there are people that are there cleaning. There are people. So there's a whole operation being run, and there's tons of information that people don't know. Now, that's just an example on a small scale, right? And I believe after thousands of years of practice, these trust fund dorks still don't have it perfect, but they're a lot more cunning and clever than we think, right? So wherever it's interjected, Johnny, I couldn't tell you for sure, but I think that somehow, and I do not believe that all of the journalists are in on this. No, I believe journalists are trying to do their job, and the ones that are really good get killed a lot of the times, right? So, Philip Marshall was a pilot, wrote a book, about 9/11 definitely couldn't happen the way it happened. Then all of a sudden, as soon as that book comes out, and pilots, they pretty much are sworn to secrecy, like the Hollywood people, like government agents and stuff like that.
The reason I ask is because you mentioned the thing about how many rounds the shooter had left, and you kind of suggest that's like an irrelevant piece of information, which I would agree, which would suggest some complicity on behalf of the journalist, right? Like, why would you include that unless you were
they were
told to?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
they were just like, and he had 77 rounds left, and they're just writing out as much detail as they possibly can.
Yeah, it was pushed down their throat, Johnny, by every person that came. They're like, yeah, and he had 177 rounds. Yeah, and he had 177 rounds. Like, I could see that, like, some sort of residual, like, you know, maybe it happened. But no, I think everything like that is planned.
Would you say it's because it's a big number? You still had 177 rounds?
I think that wherever the 77 is, wherever 49 is, wherever 14 is, they're going to use that to their advantage, and they're going to go with it. And that's all the same number. The equal sign in math class tells us this is the same, right? The equal sign literally tells us this is the same. It is 49, 14. They're all 7, 7. And they like to be, you know, sometimes they're really clever. Like the headquarters for the United Nations G77 is 154 meters tall. That's 77 plus 77. And it starts on 42nd Street, right? So I think all of this is, you know, wherever you see a 77, you're going to find 42 around there somewhere too. And we just don't have time for that, right? So, you know, who's the oldest astronaut that ever went into space is John Glenn. Of course, they sent him back at just the perfect age. He's 77, right? Gabby Gifford, which is a GG, that's a 77, shot right next to Arizona Highway 77. Elvis died in 1977 when he was 42. You know, the most recent one, and and I got to tell this story. When I found the Uvalde one, guys, I had to step back from my computer. I had to go and I wanted to watch the new movie Roadhouse with Conor McGregor. You know, I'm a prize fighter. I wanted to watch it. What's the only mile marker Jake Gyllenhaal walks by in the movie? Mile marker 77. That is not an accident. I promise you. I'll argue with any scientist, any numerologist, any school teacher, any politician, any cop. I've had 5 or 6 detectives read my book, and every day they're sending me new stuff. They're sending me new stuff because they know they're on my side. They know this can't happen. You know, I mean, here's a bunch of stuff with 77 in movies and shows. You know, they just got to tell you that someone that knew the skating coach that died in the helicopter crash was 77. They didn't even give the ages of the victims, but they gave you the age of Lamila Vilakova, a skating coach and former ice dancer who worked with the married couple. She just worked with them. But no, if she was 77, so they're like, oh yeah, include her age. Maybe someone would just told Johnny, maybe someone just told the person writing that story, make sure you include this lady's age. And even they asked why. And they just said, just do it.
Yeah.
It could be that simple. I mean, you're not going to question your boss like over and over again, especially if he just says, just fucking do what I say. It's that simple. I run a construction crew, right? I run heavy equipment all day long. There's all things going on. I mean, people will just do what you say if that's your role, right? So it's a top down. The guy that killed the CEO, how many people, and Sam, you sent this to me. How many people was he following on Twitter when he got arrested? 77. When his family owns a nursing home franchise since 77, right? So, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's all day long. Guys. And that's my thing. I really do believe that, you know, while we're in the 77th year of Aleister Crowley's death, you'll be seeing even more and more of this type of worship all day long. Trump and these guys are definitely in on it, and they're part of it. And Biden is part of it. Just that's why he gave $770 to the people that just lost their home, because not only is it not you guys all make more than that in a week. in a couple days, and people can't rebuild their house with that. You know what I mean? And they got their 77 in there. And there's no way you're going to get me to believe that through every war, through every operation, through every main science article and movie. I mean, I watched 20 movies in a row where there's a clear 77 worship going on. I mean, 300 cops held parents back. They body slam parents when they're all trained to go right to the place, to go right to the spot. Even if they're alone, they're trained to go to the person killing kids. But no, my class is 60 minutes and people are drenched in sweat in 60 minutes, right? People are drenched in sweat in 60 minutes in my boxing and my martial arts class, right? 77 minutes is a long time to listen to kids get killed and call yourself a police officer while you're choke slamming moms that can't understand why you're not going in there. And how many? I'm surprised it wasn't 377, but it was like 370, right? I'm shocked that it wasn't another 77 in there. I think they dropped the ball. Sometimes I think they dropped the ball. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, we could have got another one, but don't tell me that 9/11, Oklahoma City, Waco, World War II, Vietnam, Operation Iraqi Freedom, every single thing that you can think of that's a high impact event has, this stuff going on. I just don't buy it, guys.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
I just don't buy it. And you could buy my book, and then the next book is just a continuity of the first book, because you can't go a day without seeing this worship everywhere in every single faucet of our lives. And this is the esoteric. This is the devil. This is Satan, right? And what is Satan? What is Satan? It's the adversary. Everyone's talking about it's satanic. It's satanic. It's satanic. Well, it's Samyaza. It's 77. It's the goat. It's Saturn. It's this rebranding. And they do it all day, every day. And you won't go one day without seeing it, right? And you'll see it in even posts where it's Instagram posts and Facebook posts. You'll see 77,000 likes, 77,000 views all day long, every day, because they know people are staring at that, right? They know people are staring at that. And I don't even bother screenshotting everything, right? To put it in a folder, because people, as soon as they get through book 1 and book 2, they'll start seeing it every day in every show and every movie. They won't be able to get away from it. And where there's 77, there's the Dark Mother 42, which has the power to turn men into women and women into men. And that's why this transgender thing is pushed so hard as well, because that's the 42. Brittany Grimer, her number 42. It's all right there. It's all there.
What's so crazy is I was having a conversation with somebody last night, and they were telling me about they had a family member go through this transition stuff and how they're absolutely losing their mind. And it's so tragic, because if you're a detransitioner or somebody who has gone through transition, and for some reason, some people can handle it. They're built for it. I don't know what it is, but there are people who cannot last on hormone therapy, and they just lose their mind. And the worst part is, what's even worse is when they try to get help from the trans community, they just get told to shh, be quiet, you're gonna rock the boat. And it's so tragic, dude. And it's like I was saying last night, if I watch a pharmaceutical commercial for nothing, maybe nothing, it just helps you with, let's say, an aspirin, man, you watch like the side effects, they're huge. And all the time, it's suicidal thoughts. All the time. And you're like, okay, you're just taking this little thing for your headache. What when you're trying to change your body chemistry? What's going to happen to you?
Oh, when it's weird, that side effect for suicide happens a lot with acne, with kids, which is really crazy how you can give a kid some stuff for your acne to give you confidence, but then you got suicidal thoughts all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like Johnny said before. It's like there's no biological shortcuts. Damn. John, great episode, dude. Great episode. One more time. Tell them where they can find your book.
You can find it on Amazon, or you can message me. The paperback is 1977, and yes, I picked that number. It didn't happen to freaking. It's not a coincidence. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not a coincidence, right? It's not a coincidence. But there's my book, and I'm right in 77 Trust Fund Dork Boulevard right now. Same, different streets, same fuckery, and you can find me on the It's Not What You Think podcast. I'm trying to be more consistent with my podcasting, but I really enjoy writing. And so I've been doing that more for the last, couple of years. And and Instagram, I'm John Lee Chalbeck, the Florida Keys kid. I've been shadow banned on everything. It's like as soon as you start talking about 77, you're done. So you guys say sayonara to your show.
All right, man. Well, they've tried to kill us 1,000 times. They can't kill what's already dead.
I know.
All right, man.
I love you guys. And you guys have inspired me so much. And I just want to say that you guys are real spiritual warriors. You guys are the real celebrities. And these Hollywood guys are just puppets. They all sign their souls away in blood. And you guys are taking the dark road, the high road, in the sense of like, you got a way harder path, and no one's going to be giving you handouts and stuff like that. But you guys really inspire the people that need to be inspired, which is the herd. That's us. Right?
I don't even want to. I just want to wake up people that want to save themselves. I don't think you can save anybody unless they want to save themselves.
I was already a conspiracy theorist when I got here, right? And then I started listening to the really deep researchers you put on, and you have really great researchers, guys that put in the work. And, with Johnny and XG and you got the perfect trinity of, what you got going on.
That is the coolest thing ever said about Xavier Guerrera. He's a deep researcher.
Yeah.
I've never heard that said before. Xavier's like, oh, thank you, Doug.
More of a documentary watcher, but I'll take it.
Yeah, he'll take it, dude. All right, let's break down the episode. 77. We did it. We made it happen. Even though we had to do a 0.5 to make it happen, we did do it. Episode 877. John Lee coming on, dropping the hammer to the gods. What'd you guys think?
I saw that number right when the episode was done. I went to my desk, saw 77, but I think it's on me. I got it. I might have got the bug.
You're infected, buddy. You're infected with that 77 flu. What's your thoughts, Johnny?
Well, I see 69 everywhere. That's I just everywhere, all the time.
All the time.
I Google it. It comes up 69.
Do you tell your girlfriend that? She's like, we're not doing that right now.
Did you remember he said that something happened and he asked his friend, he's like, do you see 77 anywhere? That's what I am. Just 69 all the time. I'm like, hey, bro. Then somebody's like, oh, the president just got shot. Have you seen 69 anywhere? I need to know. That's me, bro. I'm all about.
I've gotten those texts. I've literally gotten those texts from Johnny out at the Comedy Store. He's like, "You see 69 on stage?" And I was just like, "Not today, Johnny." And he was like, "You're not looking hard enough."
I love you. I love you guys. That was a great episode. He crushed it. I mean, it is crazy how all those super duper high impact events. How many 77s there are?
I gotta tell you, bro. I just put in the number 69 on the news. Gang of Four bassist Dave Allen dies at 69. British post-punk legend dead at 69.
Yeah, see, but they're not in high-packed events, Johnny.
Yeah, and Johnny.
Well, there hasn't been one today.
A lot of people died at 69, Johnny. Shut up.
Oh, God, 69's everywhere. I can't even read some of this stuff.
But it's crazy, dude. I mean, that stuff about who's the devil? That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. That is
crazy ass shit.
I like that idea too.
Samaza.
That you need to be able to call it by its name. It does worry me though, because does that mean? I mean, we know for a fact that Jesus wasn't called Jesus at the time. Do we need to say his name properly? Does that?
What is his proper name, Johnny? That's why everyone debates.
I mean, I what is it like? I mean, there's a debate about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it matters. I know what I feel and what I'm thinking when I say it. And I think that's what matters. But it does seem
intent? Is that what you're saying? Intent?
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting, Johnny. Interesting. I mean,
yeah,
but I do believe.
I say Jesus.
That's your drug dealer. We're talking about our Lord and Savior. Okay. why I will say, Johnny, and why I agree with a lot of things that John said, is that that's the symbolism in which they tell you they're playing ball or that this is ours. That we did this, all that stuff. That to me resonates. Like, and they're always paying homage. Like, I remember going on a podcaster's podcast and I brought up Aleister Crowley. He's like, come on, don't talk negative about him. I'm like, damn, dude, that's some crazy shit.
So you would say like the number
Was it Mark?
70?
Was it Mark that you went? Who was it?
Mark Maron? Yeah.
No, Mark.
No, it was Mark Maron.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So you're saying that when, like, let's say they make a movie and they just want to throw a little signature, you know how like an artist throws a signature at the end of his painting?
Yeah, I'm part of the team.
You think that's part of
exactly what they do?
Okay. It's like, just this is ours.
Yeah, this is team scumbag. We're in on it. Enjoy this child's film, children's show, children's movie. That's exactly what they do. Yeah. And it sucks. It sucks. Almost as bad as me losing my fucking social media phone.
So like right now, I know you saw the movie Sonic.
Yeah.
Does him pulling up the Sonic thing to just kind of like ruin movies? Like, I don't really run into, like, I don't care if you ruin an adult movie because I'm an adult. I don't really care and I expect.
Oh, yeah, it's all about subversion. You get.
But when I see it around kids, like when you put up that Sonic thing, my nephews, they.
I mean, why would you put an occult quote in a kid's movie?
Yeah.
It's just because dude, like, I have this theory. Like, the only reason I'm making the Chaos Twins is because I have kids. People that don't have kids, that make kids entertainment, they'll tell you about money, but I just find it to be super dark.
Dan Schneider, no kids. What the fuck are you doing running Nickelodeon, playing multiple shows?
Dude, they were running at Nickelodeon. They were making fake TV shows just to have auditions.
No. Whoa.
Right? I mean, that's how much of a scumbags they are. It's so crazy to me. It's so crazy. Yeah, it's a great episode, dude. I mean, like, I talk to John Lee all the time, so it was good to get him on, and he knocked it out of the park. Guys, if you go to samtripoli.com, check it out. We got dates. I want to thank everybody who was in Tacoma for coming out to Tacoma. My next big show is in Burbank. At the Nightcap, the revival is back. And then Bellflower, California, Stand-Up Comedy Club on the 10th of May. Cleveland, Ohio. More dates coming as we go. Bang, bang, pow. Anything else, guys?
No, that's it. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Let's break down this episode.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. John
Yeah,
Hinckley's got a girlfriend?
Go to his page.
He's got a Twitter page?
Yeah.
No shit. John Hinckley. I mean, who would have thought he would have had a second act to his life? Oh, gosh. She looks like a
so
hostage,
funny.
bro. Oh,
Yeah.
This is funny. Oh, dear. Hold on.
What's really funny, Johnny, is the reason I fell for that gun is because Jeff Dye fell for it too.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Look at that.
Look at this, dude. He's like, all right, I'm gonna put my hand on your shoulder.
Always feel they can fix him.
It's like
I
the
can fix you.
one hand is like right here, and the other hand is a gun right in her back. Like, don't
Yeah,
shoot
yeah.
me, bitch.
Yeah. Take this picture. You fuck.
Oh, that's so funny. Wow. I mean, yeah. Hey, if you can play guitar too, like that goes so far. Like if you're like a dangerous guy who shot a president and you can play guitar, you're gonna get a certain class of woman, no matter how ugly and old you are.
Yeah, that girl hates her dad.
So one of the other big stories that was going around, which I have a problem with, and I suspect you will too. The reporting on this has been, hey, we brought back direwolves. Direwolves were extinct, and now they're back. We'll just play briefly this little clip. Wait, actually, you know what? No, I want to go to this one over here. Hold on.
Now, who are they going to bang?
Time Magazine has been handled the reporting on it. Seems like it's kind of been a PR managed situation here. The tweet from Time Magazine is: meet the first direwolves to exist in over 10,000 years.
The dire wolf hasn't been heard on planet Earth for more than 10,000 years. That's because the species is extinct, or was. Colossal Biosciences is a Dallas-based company that's using genetic engineering to de-extinct long-gone species. And this is the first time Colossal's dire wolf pups, who are now 6 months old, have been seen by the public. Hey, us from the beginning and shared this footage with Time for a cover story. So can you tell me a little bit about what went into engineering the dire wolf?
We extracted DNA from 2 fossils that we knew from previous work had some amount of preserved ancient DNA. One was a 13,000-year-old bone, and the other was a 72,000-year-old bone, an inner ear bone. We were able to generate 2 genomes, 2 dire wolf genome sequences from that, which we then compared to all the other wolves for which there's already been data generated. And when we do that, we want to figure out where it is that these 2 dire wolves are similar to each other, but different from the other wolves that are out there. And so we come up with this list of genes where they're distinct. Now, our goal in the dire wolf project, just like with all de-extinction projects, is to re-engineer the core traits, the core characteristics that made these extinct species unique and able to fill whatever role that they filled in their ecosystems when they were still alive.
Using this.
So,
yeah, not a good idea.
First of all, did you not see Jurassic Park?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my first question. Did you not watch Jurassic Park? Secondly,
why?
It sounds like some other scientists have had a chance to look at this. And it sounds like these aren't really dire wolves either, because they've just taken gray wolf genetics and altered them at a view. Like, I think it was just a handful, like 6 areas of distinction. One making their coats white, one making them like bigger, and then a couple of other things to make it so that they could mate. In fact, I think, or so that they could be brought to term inside of like a dog. But it's not technically a dire wolf. What they've created is kind of just a mutant gray wolf that has some traits that are similar.
It's going to blow up in our face.
Well, and now they're talking about bringing back
the village.
They're talking about bringing back a mouse, or creating a mouse with some of the traits of a woolly mammoth, and then eventually bringing back a woolly mammoth. That's weird.
Yeah, not good.
Rat with a woolly mammoth traits. What does that mean? No, it's strange, right?
Yeah,
and then
stupid.
And then they're talking
These
about
nerds are going to kill us.
Yeah, talking about bringing back the dodo bird too, which is like, is anybody pining away for the dodo?
Yeah,
the
you're just going to bring back these dodo birds so they get murked by the dire wolves. You're like, hey, you're back, have fun. They're dead now.
And they're talking about like the end game of this, Sam, is to release these back into the world, because they think that their argument is they have a role to play in the ecosystem and they should have never been extinct. So their idea is to eventually, now those wolves are going to be, they're on a secret nature reserve, like a massive nature reserve somewhere in Texas, so people don't go hunt them, because hunters are getting a hard on to be like the first guy to kill a dire wolf in 10,000 years. I would love to do that, but yeah, I don't know, everything about this is just like bad idea, don't do it. That was the other big story of the week.
We don't need more dead animals coming back. There's a reason why they're dead. They got murked. Move on. Now, if you said we over farm them or we overkilled them, I'll be okay with that. But do not bring back, saber-toothed tigers.
No, I totally agree.
Start with a Pikachu or a Care Bear. Yeah, people are yelling out they want Chris Farley. Do you want a fucking reanimated Chris Farley?
No, hey, now you're
he
talking.
Came back, they brought him back, but his comedy style doesn't work anymore. So he's doing all these wacky physical comedy, and everyone's like, himself. It's not really working. So he gets back on coke and kills himself.
Yeah, that would be great. So the other thing this week I wanted to ask you about, it's is okay. So Russell Brand has, we've been hearing about this for a while, that he was going to face.
That's the whole thing. We've been hearing about this for a while.
And now he's finally faced accusations of some SA stuff, all alleged, of course. Here was his response to the accusations.
Hello. Firstly, thank you for these incredible and overwhelming messages of support. We're very fortunate, in a way, to live in a time where there's so little trust in the British government. We're very fortunate, I suppose, that this is happening at a time where we know that the law has become a kind of weapon to be used against people, institutions, and sometimes entire nations that will not accept and tolerate levels of corruption that are unprecedented. I'm speaking particularly to those of you that are watching this in the UK. How do you feel about your legal system right now? How do you feel about some of the high-profile cases that are not being pursued and prosecuted? How do you feel that the Southport murders were handled? How do you feel about the government of Keir Starmer? Now, that's just sort of general context. Me, I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, with just about a shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. I want to let you know that our show will be on Rumble on Monday. Thanks for your support there. And of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in court, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. In the meantime, you lot, stay free, and we will be continuing to discuss this matter.
So there it is. That's his response. I'm curious, what do you, as someone with a finely attuned bullshit meter, maybe not on tweets, but on people?
The whole theory has been like his pivot in his brand was for this moment.
Yes.
That has been the belief since the start that this is it. Now, the question becomes...
If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to Broken Simulation in your podcasting app or check us out at youtube.com/Sam Tripoli.
The thing is that Cassie was seeing both of them, and neither one of them knew.
So she does belong to the streets.
You get what I'm saying? So that's why it's kind of like,
this doesn't help her case.
No, it doesn't. So then when Kid Cudi was like, why is he mad? Like, I thought you guys were over. They weren't over. She was still doing freak offs and didn't tell Kid Cudi, and Pete didn't know. So according to them,
this doesn't help her case because
that one didn't help. That's why I was just like, oh shit. And then when they're saying that, like, when she was with him, like Kid Cudi, she didn't mention any freak off stuff. No, he didn't know anything about any of it. He just knew when.
Girls with
Theo Von got physical.
Chick in the denim overalls. She's big. What's her hat? Where she's part nut. She has nothing to do with the video. But
the guy said that like it was his birthday and he wanted to.
So whatever. You're talking about the guy with that.
With the balloon.
With the balloon.
Yeah. So he said it was his birthday and he wanted to go up to Theo Von and have them like take a video of them popping the balloon, and then I guess Theo got mad or something.
But in Theo Von's defense,
if you pull the ass and the dick off her face and you come and you look down, she's like, is she smiling? You're good. Yeah.
You saw her before you did it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll make sure. How'd you have?
I don't love him that much.
No? But that is a sign of love.
That is a sign.
That is a sign of love. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know girls ever loved me that much.
No, no.
But that is a sign of love, and not only it's definitely a sign of love because it's for a big fool.
That's what I'm saying. They're big boys.
Yeah, they're big boys and they're hairy boys. Like they're not gonna.
Juno knows.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack.